Welcome everybody to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Reading from the 9th canto. Excuse me. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Thank you. Jaya Goranitai, 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 Jaya Goranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Go Premanande. Save the whole world. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 22, verses 1 through 26. The focus will be on verse 20. Do we have the microphone? Is everybody ready to read? We will start at text 1.
Sukadev Goswami said, O king, the son of Devotdasha was Mitrayu, and from Mitrayu came 4 sons named Chayavana, Sudasa, Sahadev, and Somaka. Somaka was the father of Jantayu. Somaka had 100 sons, of whom the youngest was Prasata, and from Prasata was born King Drupada, who was opulent in all supremacy.
From Maharaj Drupada, Draupadi was born. Maharaj Drupada also had many sons, headed by Dristadumna. From Dristadumna came a son named Dristaketu. All these personalities are known as descendants of Brahmayasva, or as the dynasty of Panchala. Another son of Ajamida was born as Riksha. From Riksha came a son named Samvarana, and from Samvarana, through the womb of his wife, Tapati, the daughter of the sun god, came Kuru, the king of Kurukshetra. Kuru had 4 sons, Parikshit, Sudanu, Janu, and Nishada. From Sudanu, Sutra was born, and from Suhotra, Chavana. From Chavana, Kriti was born.
The son of Kriti was Uparichara Vasu, and among his sons, headed by Brihadrartha, were Kushamba, Matsya, Pratyagraha, and Chedipa. All the sons of Uparichara, Vasu became ruler of the Chedi state. From Brihadrata, Kushagra was born, from Kushagra Rishabha, and from Rishabha Satyahiti. The son of Satyahiti was Pushpavan, and the son of Pushpavan was Jahu.
Through the womb of another wife, Brihadrata begot two halves of her son. When the mother saw those two halves, she rejected them. But later, a sea demon named Jara playfully joined them and said, "Come to life, come to life." Thus the same son named Jarasandha was born.
Haribo. Scary, huh?
From Jarasandha came a son named Sahadeva. From Sahadeva, Somapi, and from Somapi, Shrutarshava. The son of Kuru called Parikshi had no son, but the son of Kuru called Janu had a son named Suratha. From Suratha came a son named Viduratha, from whom Sarvabhauma was born. From Sarvabhauma came Jayasena, from Jayasena Radhika, and from Radhika Ayutayu.
From Ayutayu came a son named Akrodana, and his son was Devatiti. The son of Devatiti was Riksha, the son of Riksha was Dilipa, and the son of Dilipa was Pratipa. The sons of Pratipa were Devapi, Shantanu, and Bahlika. Devapi left the kingdom of his father and went to the forest, and therefore Shantanu became the king. Shantanu, who in his previous birth was known as Mahabhisha, had the ability to transform anyone from old age to youth simply by touching that person with his hands.
Because the king because the king was able to make everyone happy for sense gratification primarily by the touch of his hand, his name was Shantanu. Once when there was no rainfall in the kingdom for 12 years and the king consulted his learned Brahminical advisors, they said, "You are faulty for enjoying the property of your elder brother. For the elevation of your kingdom and home, you should return the kingdom to him." When the Brahmana said this, Maharaj Shantanu went to the forest and requested his elder brother Devapi to take charge of the kingdom, for it is the duty of a king to maintain his subjects. Previously, however, Shantanu's minister Ashwavara had instigated some Brahmanas to induce Devapi to transgress the injunctions of the Vedas and thus make himself unfit for the post of ruler. The Brahmanas deviated Devapi from the path of Vedic principles and therefore when asked by Shantanu, he did not agree to accept the post of ruler. On the contrary, he blasphemed the Vedic principles and therefore became fallen. Under the circumstances, Shantanu again became the king and Indra being pleased showered rain. Devapi later took the path of mystic yoga to control his mind and senses and went to the village named Kalapagrama where he is still living.
After the dynasty of the moon god comes to an end in this age of Kali, Devapi, in the beginning of the next Satyuga, will re-establish the Soma dynasty in this world. From Balika, the brother of Santanu, came a son named Somadatta, who had three sons named Buri, Burishwava, and Shala. From Santanu, through the womb of his wife named Ganga, came Bhishma, the exalted self-realized devotee and learned scholar.
Text 20. Bhishmadeva was the foremost of all warriors. When he defeated Lord Parshuram in a fight, Lord Parshuram was very satisfied with him. But the semen of Shantanu in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, Chitrangada, took birth. Text 21 to 24. Chitrangada, of whom Vichitravirya was the younger brother, was killed by a Gandharva who was also named Chitrangada. Satyavati, before her marriage to Shantanu, gave birth to the master authority of the Vedas, Vyasadeva, known as Krishna Dvaipayana, who was begotten by Parasharamani. From Vyasadeva, I, Shukadev Goswami, was born, and from him I studied this great work of literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. The incarnation of Godhead, Vedavyas, rejecting his disciples headed by Paila, instructed Srimad Bhagavatam to me because I was free from all material desires. After Ambika and Ambalika, the two daughters of Kashiraj, were taken away by force, Vichitravirya married them. But because he was too attached to these two wives, he had a heart attack and died of tuberculosis.
Text 25. Ba dar ra and yana sorry that following his mother Satyavati begot 3 sons, and by the woman is Ambika and Ambika and the 2 wives is his brother Victoria and the third Victoria, the Mr. Servants. The sons was Tar Ra Pandu and Victadura.
Okay, last verse.
Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari gave birth to 100 sons and 1 daughter, O king. The eldest of the sons was Duryodhana, and the daughter's name was Dushala.
Haribol. Did everybody get the pastimes in there? It wasn't just all recitation of names, right? So we'll focus on text 20. Viryutha Ganer Yena Ramo Piyudi Tosita Shatanor Daso Kanyayam Yajne Chitragada Sutaha Vira Yugath Graneryena Ramo Piyudi Toshita Shatanor Daso Kanyayam Yadne Chittagadaha Sutta Virya Yugath Graneryena Ramo Piyudi Toshita Shatanayo Daso Kanyayam Jajne Chitragadaha Shutaha. Please repeat. Vira Yena Ramo Piyudi Toshita Shantanor Dasakanyayam Yane Chittagara Sutta Yira Yugranir Yena Ramo Piyudi Toshita Santanor Dasakanyayam Yajje Chittagan Sada Vira Yugranir Yena Ramo Piyudi Tostitaha Shantanor Dasakanyayam Yajne Chittanrana Sutta. Very nice, Sam. Good job. We'll do the word for word together. Vira Yuta Agrina Bhishmadev, foremost of all the warriors. Yena, by whom Rama Api, even Parshuram, the incarnation of God, Yudi, in a fight, Tostita, was satisfied when defeated by Bhishmadev, Shantanu, by Shantanu, Dasa Kanyam, in the womb of Satyavati, was known as the daughter of a Sudra. Jajne was born, Chitragada, Sutta, a son. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Bhishmadev was the foremost of all the warriors. When he defeated Lord Parshuram in a fight, Lord Parshuram was very satisfied with him. By the semen of Shantanu in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, Chitragada took birth. Purport. Satyavati was actually the daughter of Uparachara Vasu by the womb of a fisherwoman known as Matsyagarbha. Later, Satyavati was raised by a fisherman. The fight between Parshuram and Bhishmadev concerns three daughters of Kaishraja, Ambika, Ambalika, and Amba, who were forcibly abducted by Bhishmadev. Acting on behalf of his brother, Vichitravarya, Amba thought that Bhishmadev would marry her and became attached to him. But Bhishmadev refused to marry her, for he had taken the vow of brahmacharya. Amba therefore approached Bhishmadev's military spiritual master, Parshuram, who instructed Bhishma to marry her. Bhishmadev refused, and therefore Parshuram fought with him to force him to accept the marriage. But Parshuram was defeated, and he was pleased with Bhishma. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjanan Salakaya Chakshur Meditam Jena Tasma Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Chapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Sva Vedantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto the dust of his lotus feet. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Niti Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paskachadesha Tarine Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripasinnivasevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there's lots of names and a lot of birth history here, but we also have some fascinating stories are brought up while we're hearing about the family histories. I was reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it was a section where he was reciting a lot of names. And he said, you know, I've spent a lot of time reciting all these names, I mean chapters after chapters of names. He said, but I've done this because it's very purifying to hear these names. It's very purifying to go through these names. So the same is true for us. It may sound a little bit like all these difficult to pronounce names, but it's really very purifying and very satisfying too when you see their histories and who's related to who. There were a lot of details here, personalities I didn't realize were connected, right? Did y'all notice that? Like Mother Satyavati. She is both the mother of Vedavyas, Vyasadeva, and she is the mother of say it louder before I get to it. Bhishmadev. So amazing, isn't it? that she'd have this, you know, in the introduction to Bhishma Dev's pastimes, right? I always thought Bhishma Dev's, or actually Satyavati. No, her son was not Bhishma Dev. Ganga Devi is Bhishma's mother. But Satyavati is the what we thought was an ordinary woman, fisherwoman, right? Son of a fisherwoman, and she was on this boat, and Bhishma Dev's father was on that boat and fell in love with her, right? And then he wanted to marry her, but he couldn't marry her unless her father-in-law said, well, I want the issue from my daughter to be the king. So Bhishma had to make the terrible vow. What was the terrible vow? Do you know? Yes, he promised never to marry. Isn't that unbelievable? He was a king, he was a Kshatriya, he was the foremost fighter on the planet, right? And he said, and after you see all of these persons and they marry each other and they meet somebody else, then things happen, somebody dies, and he it's amazing to think that Bhishma would say, I'm not going to get married. I will take a vow of brahmacharya so that you will be assured that I never have issue. I will never have a child that could be put on the throne ahead of your son, Mother Satyavati. So I'm going to go through each personality here because it's so interesting who they are and what they did and how things have worked out. We get the story of Jarasandha very quickly, right? Jara was born of, his father was Brihadratha. And through the womb of a different wife, he had one wife and they mentioned those sons, but through the womb of a different wife, Bhadrarath begot two halves of a son. What does that mean? That's like a stillborn baby, right? Yeah, it doesn't give us the gory details, right? We just know this wasn't a very auspicious birth, right? It was two halves of a baby son. And so the mother rejected the baby, and instead a she-demon, a witch who had mystic powers, obviously, right, joined them together. Isn't it interesting that her name was Jara? And so the son that was joined together after she said, come to life, became Jarasandha, right? And we know him as a very, very powerful king who fought. Who did he fight all the time? Krishna and Balaram. And in fact, he's so important, it's the reason Dwarka was built, right? Because he and his cohorts kept attacking. He just never got the message. Wasn't like 21 battles? His whole army's wiped out. He should have fallen on his sword and died too. But he goes away, gets another army, and keeps attacking Krishna, right? And so Krishna's like, he's like a gnat, like a fly. Let me put up some fly netting around my family so that Jarasandha can't bother him. So he builds Dwarka, right, in the middle of the ocean, off the coast. And but what an important personality. We have to remember that they're not just negative personalities. They do negative things, but they're there for Krishna's pastimes, right? They add to the amazingness of what's happening. You gotta in any great story, there's the good guy, the bad guy, the person that gets things riled up, the person that helps, and then there's the hero, right? Who's always the hero? Krishna, Ram, the Shringadev, right? So this is very lovely, wonderful pastime. We love to hear this. So Shantanu, what an important personality. Maharaj Shantanu. Had no idea he was so important. He had sons. And with his wife, or from him come down many sons. We get to Pratipa. He had 3 sons. Devapi was the eldest. Shantanu, this is before Shantanu. This is Shantanu's lineage. Okay, so we're getting to Shantanu. Shantanu started out with Kuru, right? King Kuru. Then Janu, then Saratha, then Vidurath. And it goes through, and we have Pratipa. Pratipa has 3 sons. One is Devapi. The second son is Shantanu. The third son is Balika. So what happens? Devapi is the eldest. So what's supposed to happen to the eldest son of the king? He should become the king. Okay, this Devapi said, no, I'm going to go to the forest. I don't want to be the king. Somebody else has to take care of this. So Shantanu takes over because he has to. Well, there's no rain for like 12 years, right? So this is not good. So he consults, and Shantanu realizes, I have usurped the kingdom from my brother. I must go back to him, find him in the forest, and make him come out, right? And come back and be the king. In the meantime, one of his ministers has concocted a plan to make Devapi somehow transgress Vedic injunctions, right? We don't know what that is. So some kind of fall down, some kind of transgression that will cosmically, through the power of karma, allow Shantanu to be the king. And doesn't this always happen? Don't we always see this around powerful people? The ministers, the servants of those power people are doing all kinds of crazy things, good things, bad things, to keep their man or woman in power, right? We see this in the present day, so we know it was happening back then too, right? And so there's often in the modern age, there's assassinations, there's poisonings, there's disappearances, there's ways that the modern rulers are keeping their turf. They're coveting other lands. They're giving up lands. It's a whole thing. It's just amazing craziness. So Shantanu becomes the proper king. And Shantanu is amazing because with his wife Ganga, he's going to have Bhishma. Bhishma is going to be born. And Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan, right? He's one of the great acharyas of the line. And before we go into Bhishma Dev, let's talk about Devapi. Devapi goes to the king, goes to the forest. Shantanu and his men come get him. He transgresses Vedas, so Shantanu can be the king. But Devapi still lives in a village in India known as Kalapagram. Did anybody know that before reading this? Isn't that amazing? And he's going to live till the end of Kali Yuga because he's going to be there in the next stage. In the next Satya Yuga, Devapi will reestablish the Soma dynasty in this world. So very interesting to think how these things are happening, isn't it? I thought that was fascinating. So we have Bhishma Dev and his terrible vow, right? Terrible vow, horrible, because he's such a powerful king. And can you imagine the children that Bhishma Dev would have had? What righteous kings they would have been and wonderful personalities. But that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. This is all Krishna's arrangement. And so Krishna arranged for 3 daughters of King Kashiraj, who Bhishma Dev abducted. Does everybody know the story? There were these 3 princesses, very beautiful. His brother, who had been born from Mother Satyavati, who had married Bhishma Dev's father, which is the reason Bhishma Dev took the vow, she has a son. So Bhishma Dev has this half-brother, Vitravirya. And Vitravirya, I can't remember exactly. Anyone can enlighten me. I should have looked it up. There was something he couldn't go out and grab these ladies for himself as a Kshatriya. So Bhishma Dev did it for him, right? Well, when a Kshatriya touches a woman and places her on his chariot to kidnap them, that's a form of marriage, right? So two of the girls didn't really say Ambika and Ambalika. They didn't think, oh, I'm married to Bhishma. But Amba did, right? Amba said, I'm married to you. You've touched me. You put me on your chariot. She had an attachment to him. She became attracted to him and said, you have to marry me. And Bhishma says, are you out of your mind? I mean, you didn't listen to what my name is? Bhishma Dev, vow, brahmacharya, I'm not marrying you. What does she do? She goes to she goes to Bhishma Dev's spiritual master in the arts of war. Who was that? Parshuram. Can you imagine Parshuram? Of all personalities, incredible warrior, incarnation of Krishna, and he orders Bhishma, marry this girl. Bhishma says, again, you're not listening to my name. You don't know what I did. I can't go back on my vow. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. If I have children with this woman, then it throws everything off. Maharaj Shantanu's union with Satyavati, the son's supposed to become the king. So anyway, as things happen, things work out, right? Because Vichitravirya is too attached to his wives. Is this a warning for us, those who are married? Is this a warning? Don't be too attached. He's got 2 wives. So he's so attached he has a heart attack. So, should we read between the lines here? Let's just leave it at that. He has a heart attack. He becomes in ill health. He's not performing properly as a king, right? Because he's too attached. He gets sick. What have you heard anywhere else in the Srimad Bhagavatam that someone got ill and died from tuberculosis? I mean, this is stunning. I've never heard such a thing. So he's a great personality. I don't want to detract, and he's so important because he's part of Bhishma Dev's pastimes, which lead to Krishna's pastimes. These are important personalities, but this leaves Ambika and Ambalika without a husband. In the olden days, in this age, it was appropriate for a brother to have issue, to beget children with his brother's wives if they are not able to have children. And obviously, if the brother passes away. So, Satyavati says to Vyasadeva, you should, who is his mother? Let's go back to Satyavati. Before her marriage to Maharaj Shantanu, she gave birth to Vyasadeva with the father. Who was the father of Vyasadeva? Parasha Muni, right. So Parasha Muni, I believe he has a child. He has Vyasadeva, and he decides to go back and go back to his austerities, right, after he's had Vyasadeva. So we have Vyasadeva, who is the father of Shukadeva Goswami, the reciter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. His real form is what in the spiritual world? He's a parrot, right? Shuka means parrot. And so parrots like to talk, right? You hear them in the trees. Has everyone seen this? There's a beautiful, what would you call it, flock of green parrots that live at White Rock Lake. And they're branching out now. Now they're into North Dallas area. You see them in different places, and they're in groups, and they're chattering all the time. They're always just chattering, talking. Now, Sukadeva Goswami doesn't just chatter, right? He gives us transcendental knowledge, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's such an exalted personality. He's the son of Vyasadeva. And so Satyavati is seeing her 2 daughters-in-law with their deceased husband, and she says, you got to give them children. You've got to give them children. So this is where we get incredibly important personalities for Krishna's pastimes, for the Bhagavad Gita. Was everybody following? Who do we get? Dhritarashtra. We get Pandu. We get Vidura. Actually, Vidura, so Vasudev had Dhritarashtra and Pandu with Ambika and Ambalika. We don't say which was the mother of which. But Vasudev had Dhritarashtra and Pandu with Ambika and Ambalika, and then a third son with a maidservant, Richa who was Vidura. So now we understand why Vidura was treated badly by Duryodhana and was considered like, because he was a half brother. They had the same father, they didn't have the same mothers, but he was the son of a maidservant, right? Who else was the son of a maidservant that's unbelievably exalted? Narada Muni, right? So it's not a disqualification. And in fact, the maidservant might be someone who's disguised, right? Because we thought Satyavati was this fisherman's daughter. She's just this ordinary girl. She's the daughter of a fisherman. I mean, that's pretty low. You're catching fish, you're killing fish. It's not good. And she's the daughter of this fisherman. Well, it turns out she was a greatly exalted personality. And before that pastime, she had been married to say it louder if you know. Who? She was married to, it took me a while to get all these notes and figure out who was who. She had given birth to Vyasadeva. Amazing! With Maharaj Shantanu, she gave birth to Vyasadeva. Parasha Muni. That's right. Later on, she marries Maharaj Shantanu. So she gave birth to Vyasadeva. Wow. She's not an ordinary fisherman's daughter in a boat, right? When Maharaj Shantanu meets her, this is a very exalted personalities, mother of these amazing personalities. And so I'll be honest, when I first saw it, read through the chapter, like, oh my gosh, so many names, right? This is going to be like, what will I talk about? Maybe it's an excuse to talk about anything I want to talk about, right? No. There's amazing stories here. There's amazing things to explain. And they're just all incredible personalities. And I'll just go through them real quick because it's so interesting. Jarasandha is discussed. Maharaj Shantanu, Devapi, who's still alive in a village somewhere in India, right? Bhishma Dev. Who doesn't just love Bhishma Dev so much? Such an incredible, the grandfather. He was a big reason why Arjuna didn't want to go into war, right? And he has Krishna drive that chariot down, and he speaks what? We get Bhagavad Gita. So these personalities are inspiring us in amazing ways. We're getting Srimad Bhagavad Gita out of it. Excuse me. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and we've got the personalities who conceived Vyasadeva, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and then what did Amba do after? Of course, Bhishma Dev fought Parshuram and defeated his spiritual master in military arts, Parshuram. Can you imagine that? Parshuram could kill at the speed of the mind. And Bhishma Dev was such an exalted warrior. He was the foremost of all warriors. He defeats Parshuram. Is Parshuram mad? Was Parshuram mad about that? No, he was happy. Because when you have a student and your student surpasses you, you're really happy about that because you were the one who helped instruct them, right? So Parshuram's not upset, but who is upset? Amba. What does Amba do? Yes, she's mad at who? She's mad at Bhishma Dev.
She had her beloved, and he didn't realize she was betrothed.
Yeah, she's so angry because she's like, no, he's supposed to marry me. It's not happening. So she does austerities. She dies and is reborn as a female in a male body. Boy, is that one hard. Figure that one. Even today, they're not trying to, with the government and trans rights and all these things. What does that mean anyway? So we know that she was the reason that Bhishma would be killed. Why? What happens? There's a battle, right? The battle of Kurukshetra. Bhishma has made a vow that this day I will kill the Pandavas. I will kill Arjuna. And he almost does it. Why isn't he able to kill Arjuna? Yes. What does Krishna do? He picks up a busted chariot wheel and he comes at Bhishma with it. What does Bhishma do? He just drops his weapons and say, I'm here. Take me out. Your Supreme Personality of Godhead wants to kill you. Nothing can save you, right? And so instead, Arjuna grabs him and says, no, Lord, you promised not to pick up weapons and fight in this age. So the fighting ends. So the Pandavas are like, we're in trouble. So they go to Bhishma Dev that evening and they say, grandfather, how can we kill you? Is that hard to do or what? And he's so happy. He's like, I'm glad you finally came to ask me. I'm glad you came. Take Amba, and I forget her name as the warrior in the Shakundi. Put Shakundi in front of me. I won't fire any weapons because she's really a woman. Isn't that amazing? How else could you defeat Bhishma Dev, right? And Hollywood comes up with all these little ideas, great stories. You read novels and people think of cool stories. Nothing can touch that story, can it? Have you ever read anything more amazing? And it's almost like modern, Shakundi was Amba. It's amazing. So we know how Bhishma is going to be defeated. Bhishma could not be killed against his will, right? What does that mean when he was killed? It means he acquiesced to it. He knew this was his time to go. He was going to be in front of Lord Krishna. He was going to look at his face when he left his body. Who gets such mercy? I mean, this is unbelievable. Who gets such mercy? Actually, we do, right? Because we're reading about it. And we get a chance to chant Hare Krishna and perform devotional service and become totally in love with Radha and Krishna and not have any desire for material enjoyment. Because look at all the ugly stuff that happens in the material world. It's not what we want. We don't want to serve Maya. We don't want to serve the material energy anymore. We want to serve the spiritual energy that's right in front of our faces, right? Radha Kalachandji are right here. The holy name is right in our hands. It's in our bead bags. We just pick up our beads. We chant. It's in our throat. It's in our mouth. We can chant. Hare Krishna goes in our ears. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. That's how we get out of this material world. This is astonishing. We don't have to be Bhishma Dev to get out of the material world, right? That's wonderful. If you do have that kind of power, that's incredible. But let's do the wrap up. It's text 25. We hear that, I thought this was interesting. Y'all would like to talk about this. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden. The offering of a horse sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. So isn't this interesting? Prabhupada has quoted this verse, very appropriate, because we've seen in the previous age a man begetting children in his brother's wife. Well, that was allowed in a previous age. It's not allowed in Kali Yuga. We don't have Ashwamedha yajnas in Kali Yuga, right? It's forbidden. No Ashwamedha. We don't have cow sacrifices in Kali Yuga, right? We don't offer flesh, oblations of flesh to the forefathers in Kali Yuga. And what was this one? Very interesting. Acceptance of the orders of sannyas is not allowed in Kali Yuga. My guru was a sannyasi. Many of our gurus are sannyasis. What does that mean? How can this be? Does anyone want to answer? Why do we have sannyasis then in Kali Yuga? Why did Prabhupada do this?
I read that when that statement was made, it was because there were so many false and bogus sannyasis who were in the guise of sannyas, but were, collecting money and also having maybe even illicit relationships. So that, I don't know.
I looked it
me.
up. I looked it because I didn't know the answer. And I did a search on the Veda base. Does everybody know about the Veda base? You can put in a search query and get all of these quotes from Prabhupada in the whole Veda base. Chaitanya Charitamrita, room conversations, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, purports. Srila Prabhupada says about not taking sannyas, Prabhupada said, and this is in a purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll give you the location. Prabhupada says, we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself accepted sannyas, obviously in Kali Yuga, and approved of the sannyas of his older brother, Vishvarupa. It is recommended that one accept sannyas to dedicate his life for the service of the Lord, and everyone must take that kind of sannyas. For by accepting such sannyas, one renders the best service to both his paternal and maternal families. And there's more, I'll read some more, but I just comment on this. Prabhupada says, we all must take that kind of sannyas. Ladies can't take sannyas. So what does it mean? It means that you do the same thing as a sannyasi. Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, a householder under full austerity is a sannyasi. They're equivalent of a sannyasi. So it's the mood, it's the spirit, it's the vairagya. It's the penance and sacrifice that we make in the material world to give up sense enjoyment, to accept austerities, to become Krishna conscious. So it is actually okay. And as you referred to, Prabhupada explains this further, that what happened is, Prabhupada said, we do not accept Mayavad school of sannyas. And Prabhupada said, which has practically no meaning. Prabhupada says, we find many Mayavadi sannyasis simply loitering in the street, thinking themselves Brahman or Narayan, and always begging to fill their hungry bellies. Mayavad sannyasis have become so degraded, there is a section of them who eat everything, just like hogs and dogs. It is such degraded sannyas that is what is prohibited in this age. So the sannyas became so degraded after Sankarshan, and Sankarshanacharya's principles were degraded by the practitioners. So the so-called Mayavadi sannyasis became degraded because of all of the false philosophy that by accepting sannyas, one becomes Narayan. So this is the kind of sannyas that is forbidden in Kali Yuga, but not the sannyas as the example was given by Lord Chaitanya, right? So we're all supposed to. Prabhupada also said in some other comments, we're all supposed to aspire to the level of what sannyas really is. But if we have too much sex desire, we enter grahastha ashram, right? It's very simple. And for most of us, we're going to be in grahastha ashram. So sorry I talked so much. I wanted to have more questions too, but that's it for me. Do we have any comments or questions? Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for tying all these different people together and showing us how they connect to Krishna's pastimes. Do you know what happened to the wheel that was thrown, that Krishna picked up to challenge Bhishma?
No. Do you know? Will you tell us?
Yeah, the wheel is how all of these facts and stories go into Gaur Leela. Because what Lord Chaitanya, his brother Lord Nityananda, when Lord Chaitanya came, Lord Nityananda was born in Ekachakra. So where did Ekachakra come from? What happened was, after Krishna didn't need the wheel, he tossed it over his shoulder. And it flew across India and boom, landed in West Bengal.
Wow.
And that, because it was the chakra, the wheel, it was the one wheel, so that place became Ekachakra. So the wheel landing in West Bengal led to the advent of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya in that place.
Wow. Thank you, Prabhu. That's incredible.
When you go to Mayapur, you'll have a good chance to go see Ekachakra also and go to that place.
Yeah, Jai. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Any more comments, questions? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Save the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki.